Friends, happy Father's Day to you all. Today, this oration will close the illustrative sides of the orations under sentiment. I hope the story I will tell you today will match the auspicious day today. It will combine sentiment of freedom with the sentiment of a man towards his father. Friends, I have told you man's sentiment towards freedom, man's sentiment towards those who live closely around one. This freedom and sentiment, they are not easy things. They are always subject to double dangers. The first danger is from tradition, from the way of life which has been fixed by our elders, by custom. This way has been fixed by taking into consideration many experiences of many great men's lives. So when such situation comes to a person, he just cannot ignore those ways as prescribed by great men. If he does that, people will call him whimsical. Not that he is free, but that he will be whimsical. Again, we talk of freedom, but every one of us wants some power over others. And we have seen how men are mad for power, mad in the pursuit of power. So, freedom and sentiment are both in double danger. Against this truth, I will tell you the story. The story is of a young boy. He is just 15 plus. He is going to read in class 9. A young talent coming from a rural countryside of our country, India. Those days, the syllabi was 11 to 2, 11 matriculation, 2 intermediate, 2 graduate. In class 9, every student was to take an extra subject as optional. That subject he is to read in addition to the compulsory subjects for the coming 3 years, 9, 10th, 11th classes, and will appear at the high school examination with such optional subject. Taking up the optional is very important in those days. That gave an identity to the student. So when he went to class 9 on reopening of the school, his classmates began to talk in terms of taking optional. Everyone asked everyone what optional you are going to take. But when his friends came to ask this question to our young man, he felt oppressed because he was standing first in every class from class 4 in that school. For the last 5 years, it was taken for granted that he will take mathematics optional. 3 optional subjects were offered in that school. Normally in those schools, in those subjects, mathematics, Sanskrit, physiology and hygiene. In some schools, civics. So taking mathematics optional was a matter of pride for a good student. So it was taken for granted that this young man will take mathematics optional. But this young man was feeling terribly tortured. So much compulsion in the name of option. Question is taking optional, but so much expectations. Friends, you will mark that when you expect too much from a person who is considering himself as free, he will be under a terrible pressure, terrible reaction he will undergo insight. So this boy was feeling like that. Ultimately, he took mathematics optional. On the first day, the first period was the optional period. There came into his class a mathematics teacher who was considered a very ferocious man, ferocious teacher in the school. Very highly qualified, BSc, BEd those days. He always takes classes in class 11 and class 10, both science and mathematics optional. Compulsory mathematics, mathematics optional and science. All classes he takes in class 10, 11. But that teacher came to teach mathematics optional in class 9. So this boy felt it. The teacher, that teacher and his family, they were distantly related. They knew each other. But to the boy, it seemed that there was no love lust between his family and his family. Somehow there was some sort of envy between them, some sort of mutual friction. So seeing him as math teacher in his class, class 9, he was terribly upset inside. Okay, the first period, first class of the optional class went with sine theta, cos theta, tan theta, cot theta, explained. The second day, first period. As he was the first boy in the school, in the classes previously, his seat was just in front of the teacher. And roll number 1 also. After taking the class some 15-20 minutes, the math teacher could guess that the boy has fallen unmindful. He asked him a question, and the boy was speechless. He was unmindful. He just stood silent, hanging his head down. Now the teacher addressed the class. "Do you know, boys?" he said. The boys were terribly afraid of him, seeing that the ferocious man has come to take their mathematics optional class. And the mathematics teacher was simply making him a laughing stock. He is saying to the class, "Listen, boys, do you know, boys, your this first boy, his neck has become swollen these days." And addressing to the boy, he said, "You do one thing, mister. Ask your daddy while he comes back home next month to bring a plow rope for you. The rope used in the plow, thick, so that you turn the rope in your neck and come to school and attend my class, so that your neck will not swell in pride. Because of your pride, you are arrogant, unmindful." The boys burst laughing. But this boy got terribly infuriated. Never was he so much in anger. But somehow something came to his mind. He kept mum. He did not utter a single word. Simply gave a hand dog look. Then the teacher asked him to sit down, and he sat down. Friends, the next day, coming to school, keeping the bags in his own place, the boy held a note and went to the Sanskrit optional class and sat there. He knew the Sanskrit Pandit and the math teacher were at daggers drawn, vehement enemies to one another. He went and sat in the optional class. He thought that was the best way to retaliate the insulting words of the teacher. He had wounded his father's sentiment. His father served outside home, comes 3 to 4 times a year only. And he has insulted, the teacher has insulted his father. So he went and sat in the Sanskrit optional class. By that time, the entire school knew it. So he was a prominent boy. Everything happened to him was circulated immediately. Previously, people knew how he was insulted by the maths teacher. And when students were entering their classes, and the boy went and sat in the optional class, Sanskrit optional class, and people were in front of each other, one another. The Sanskrit Pandit came first with a very serious face, did not look at anybody and sat in the chair, did not take attendance. This boy could not understand why the Sanskrit Pandit has become very serious. Okay, in the same veranda, the maths teacher passed by, gave a look at him. He passed on. After 2 minutes, there came the summons. A boy came and said to Sanskrit teacher, "Sir, maths teacher is asking this boy to go to our class." But the boy did not rise from his chair. The Sanskrit Pandit told him, "Why don't you go?" So then he went. The maths teacher asked him, "Why you are absent in this class?" He said, "I have changed to Sanskrit optional." "Why?" "Now I wanted." "Do you mean that whatever you want, you'll do? As per your whim?" said the mathematics teacher. The boy answered, "It is an optional subject. I have decided to take Sanskrit optional." Just a minute, Syrian silence. The maths teacher returned with, "What will you do with Sanskrit optional?" The boy said, "I do not know what I will do. Anything that will come, I will do." The teacher said, "What will do? You will be merely a clerk with Sanskrit optional." Friends, it seemed as if heaven fell on earth on the boy. Every youthful fancy, every youthful playfulness, everything that was negative for him, for his studies, vanished, and he became a serious student. He was determined to see that the course pronounced by the maths teacher is denied, is negated in each case. The author writes, left to himself, the boy would simply have loitered in the streets as a vagabond. But the math teacher's admonitions made him determined. Okay, he came back and took his class Sanskrit optional seat. The Pandit asked. He was simply sitting silently, seriously, not even taken attendance. He said, "What happened?" He said, "Math teacher said to me, you would be a clerk with Sanskrit optional." Sanskrit Pandit said, "Okay, I am blessing you. You will teach the Veda to the world." With this, that chapter was closed, friends. With this, I illustrated you the reaction of a young boy where his father's sentiment was wounded. I close the orations today, and from tomorrow, we will read the theoretical, psychological side of sentiment. Thank you.